Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scott C Business, and today we're here with Christopher Kramer, who is the CEO of somee. Would you just like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, the CEO of somee, and we've been building this platform for a while. Myself, I've been in technology for a number of years and had run a couple of other technology businesses. And in 2010, just watched the rise of Facebook like everybody else, and saw that as so many users were joining a platform, they were building the value to the platform, but not necessarily capturing that value for themselves. And so I set out to originally really help users capture the value. And then, things kind of progressed from there with the release of blockchain and crypto. And pivoted to that. But myself, just been, an enthusiast for technology for a number of years, and just glad to be on this path to trying to get something out to market.
Awesome, awesome. And how busy would you say your day is now on a day-to-day basis, being the CEO?
Yeah, I mean, bell to bell. I try to balance it out, honestly. For a while there, it was a little too busy, and I was pushing a little bit too hard, and it really took its toll. So I had to reevaluate and rebalance. So now I really carve time out like every day to exercise. It's really important to me. And then taking time with, like my wife and family, just to make sure that, there's a balance there. So it is still very busy, but just trying to really focus on a balance so that it's, healthy, and it's no use working so hard if you can't play a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's a common thread now. Everyone's kind of ensuring they get the right balance, but they're always still trying to. I'm sure you're still pushing as hard as you can to work all the time, but you always trying to keep that balance. Absolutely. So for people, actually, just before we dive into what somee is, how did you come up with the name? Where did where does the origins of that or the motivations for the name come from?
Right. So, well, when we incorporated the company originally, the parent corporation is actually One Name Global Inc. It's a
Mm.
Delaware corporation, and we incorporated in 2013 with Davis Wright Tremaine, our law firm, and then when we launched the original platform, we called it ONG, which is an acronym of the parent corporation, ONG, and we couldn't
Hmm.
ONG.com because that was Oklahoma Natural Gas, and they probably never give that up. So we went with ONG.social, and then that was the original platform that we later decommissioned. And when we pivoted to the blockchain and started rebuilding everything, a lot of our community that really came into the ecosystem started to say, "Hey, let's rebrand." And so this idea came actually from the community, and then we eventually had a list of names that everybody voted on. And somee was a contribution from, I believe, if you're familiar with They Call Me Dan,
Mm.
his
Yeah.
brother actually came up with the name.
Oh,
So
okay.
his brother's the genius behind it, and they submitted it, and then basically we rebranded to somee, and we have someesocial.com, and we also have somee.social, and that's where the main app is. So and then we hired graphic designers and everything else to come up with the logo, and came up with a little catchphrase, social media redefined. So, and that's what we're doing, redefining social media, or at least trying to redefine the experience for privacy, control, and for monetization.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually have an interview with They Call Me Dan next week. Funnily enough. So for people who don't know what somee is, do you want to just give a brief introduction and then maybe like a more advanced take for people who might be more familiar with blockchain?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the simple version is that it's a social media site that has monetization options for people. So they get at the upvote on the post level. If somebody's upvoting you, it'll start to build like a US dollar value equivalent on the post. And then we're putting in more privacy settings to give users more control over that. And then we're going to be releasing an advertising system that also puts the users in control, where the advertisers can target like they normally would. But then if they select an option called G Boost or Global Boost, it allows the target audience to also target them back. And then they can choose to share data if they'd like to and opt in to the campaign. So we as an operator don't want to be sharing data behind the user's back and monetizing it. We want to give them the choice to do that and empower them with the technology. So at the core, that's what it is: social media platform that is focused on privacy, control for end users, and monetization. On the technical level, we did fork the Steam blockchain originally, and so we forked Steam and then built in other integrations like our Ethereum and kept Ethereum connected to it. So the idea was to give people some flexibility with the the ecosystem that they want to interact with. And so we are focused on multiple blockchain integration and multiple types of rewards. We also partnered with Steam and integrated Steam Connect and allow users to post to Steam through somee as well, and then tried to kind of integrate some features in that would give users more ease of use to incorporate Steam into the platform. And we're going to expand that initiative later on as we complete our funding round and move forward with our MVP launch. We're going to really focus on that Steam experience so that we kind of developed a press release with the Steam folks early on, and we just never released it because we weren't ready with all the features. And then one thing led to another, where we had like a DDoS attack, and we had people attacking the site in different ways, and we had to really pivot our resources to try to combat that and do things that took us off our core development path, but I think ultimately made us stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really awesome that you guys have that integration with Steam, because there's not many platforms that have that don't just exist on Steam, where you guys exist outside of Steam but still have the integration with it. So what gave you the idea? I guess you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what originally gave you the idea to start somee, or like where was the motivation behind that?
Right. So interestingly enough, it was February 14th back in 2012. So it's been 8 years. 8 years ago is when the
Wow.
idea kind of started. And that's when I started writing a business plan and presented it to a couple of close business associates. And they kind of thought I was crazy. They're like, you're not going to be able to build something like that. And so I went forward with it, hired Davis Wright Tremaine, and then started the process of building the original platform. It was quite difficult. I was quite naive to think that I could build something like that in 2 years. Got my ass kicked a few times just on the development side. It was just really difficult to take on an endeavor like this. It's a pretty huge project. There's a lot of moving pieces to something like this. So, we didn't originally go out to any VC funding. So we did, I funded the company and then got a small group of investors. So we really retained most of the ownership of the company. And that was important just so that we could execute on the vision and not have somebody, change that later on for us. So we really want to focus on the user experience and the privacy features and the control and the monetization, and not just look at it from a profit standpoint. So, and I think by doing it that way, we'll ultimately become more profitable, because as you meet the needs of the end user even more so, things have a way of coming back. That's my belief. So that's where the original idea came from, and then it just took shape there. Went full on into it, and in 2017 we pivoted to blockchain, and then we actually started rebuilding everything from scratch. The original platform, we did integrate the token into the original platform, but then started immediately, rebuilding so that we could have an ultra scalable framework and the blockchain technology that we have integrated now. and do it in a way that allowed us to scale. So my technology background in IT and infrastructure kind of helped me develop some strategy there as well for that. And now we're basically waiting for an ultra scalable network to be in by the end of this month, and it should be tested clean by the first or second week of February and ready to support millions of users.
Awesome. That's really, really awesome. And it's funny, I actually come from IT as well. So what are some of the next big things in the works? Like you just touched on a few, but if you want to expand on that a little more or touch on some other things that are coming out soon, what can somee users look forward to coming out in 2020?
Yeah, so obviously we just filmed on the New York Stock Exchange with Dr. Jen Welter, which was an honor to have her come on as an advisor. And, she was the first, NFL coach, female NFL coach. And she's done a lot of groundbreaking things. And now she's going to help us kind of empower women to also get into cryptocurrency and not feel like it's so, cryptic, as she said, and confusing. So bringing that clarity and confidence for women to come into the platform. So that's a big initiative that we're rolling out. That segment that you saw or may have started to watch on YouTube that we released is going to start syndicating pretty soon to Bloomberg, Fox Business, and a lot of other TV networks. I'm told it'll reach, collectively 2 billion people. So it's going to be a pretty broad reach starting in February. So we're excited to have our network in, which will allow us to auto scale and to really, leverage the technology that Amazon put into place. At the same time, we integrated in technology that allows us not to be fully independent on AWS because we are decentralized. So as we continue to decentralize, we'll be able to get people who want to run nodes on different networks as well. So we're not just limited with Amazon, but we're going to leverage them heavily. And they did give us a grant to move from Google Cloud to Amazon. And then we're also leaving nodes on Google as well. But yeah, that's exciting. Those are kind of the next steps in our roadmap. In the meantime, the development teams have been refining the product, squashing bugs. This week, what we did a big security upgrade. So we required the users to, upgrade their Ethereum blockchain connections this week. And we also, in kind of all of this in preparation of the MVP, just making sure the security's tight and everything's up to par before we start to scale. And obviously, the devs have been also working on squashing bugs and refining. So there's going to be maybe about 100 bugs and fixes that go into production by the end of this week. And then the developers are on 2-week sprints. So they basically develop and do things for 2 weeks, and then they put it into the staging server and then into production. So we're excited just to see, continual improvements. And, in 2020, we expect a lot of press and a lot of ability to get, kind of on the map in terms of visibility out there, and then have the network to support the scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have just a crazy amount of things going on. I'm sure the somee community is going to be really, really excited to see the growth and just all the different updates that are coming out. And I'm sure it's going to just explode in February. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like a much longer vision, maybe like 5 years in an ideal future, because obviously it's hard to tell with the crypto market where things are going, but just saying in like an ideal future, what might it look like in 5 years from now?
In 5 years, it's our goal really to become more and more decentralized, and then to integrate in features that allow the users ultimately to have more control. So the vision that we have is that eventually users will be able to come to consensus on our network, be fully decentralized. As even Bitcoin wasn't fully decentralized when it launched, and it took time for nodes to come onto the network and then to populate and download and copy the blockchain and all, everything that happens in a decentralized community. So our goal is to continue to decentralize and continue to build tools that empower that community, and really become censorship resistant in terms of, we as an operator don't want to be censoring people for the content that they're putting out, but people who are using social media, if they want to connect with a node that's putting out certain information, they should be able to do that. And if they want to block it, they should be able to do that as well. So I think it comes down to the individual choice of each individual to be up to them to what information they want to consume. So as we decentralize, system will be hardened in that way. And then also we're going to open source. So we're preparing the repos to open source and and release the code and everything. So over the next 5 years will be, I'm sure, lots of wild things happening. It's already been a wild ride, and a lot of twists and turns and different things from a day-to-day basis, but keeps it exciting, and we just keep moving along and trying to execute on our vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be really important for a lot of people to hear that, as long as decentralization is the end goal, like that's always really, really important. And it's great that you guys are aiming to open source it as well. So that's always just another really, really important aspect for like blockchain communities. So what is the current user base size of somee at the moment, and how is it growing like month to month?
Yeah, so I mean, we've had we've had an open beta for a year or a year plus. So I think in the beginning, users kind of came in. We had kind of a big flood, but it really wasn't up to par back then. We didn't have the mobile apps live. People were coming in and kicking the tires, and so we chose to just do an open beta since that time because we really wanted the feedback loop from the users.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know that we have, more than 20,000 registered users. But what happened, I think, in the beginning is a lot of them came in and kicked the tires and maybe didn't come back or didn't, use it as often. But as we've continued to improve the app and we've released the mobile versions, we've really had seen more of a growth where we had 2,000 monthly active users, then it kind of bumped up a couple months later to 3,000, then 4,000. And then we asked one influencer just to share about the project, just to see what would happen. And it bumped us up to 6,000 monthly active users.
Wow.
So the bounce rate is getting pretty sticky. I mean, the bounce rate's like around 45%. And then people spend, anywhere from 10 minutes plus on the site. And, so it's getting more and more engagement as far as a monthly active user. But the developers came to me at that point and said, please don't do that again. Don't be sharing it yet, because the system, the way it's set up now, can't handle it. And so we just, waited to do any promotion, and we're just kind of preparing everything now with, we were fortunate to get the grant from Amazon, and then to work with a team that's one of their top partners that's actually, deploying our network and all the auto scaling and the infrastructure as code and everything else. So, like I said, that's going to be ready by the end of this month. And then we'll be able to have all of our other influencers, and just tell everybody, go ahead and, YouTube about it, talk about it, put it out there, and we'll be able to handle the traffic at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who are aware of how like Steam works for rewards, do you want to kind of just break down how like the staking and then the rewards work for somee, just so that they have an idea of the differences and maybe some of the similarities?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since we did fork Steam, we have a similar system where we have, but the difference is obviously we have an ERC token that's on Ethereum that is pretty much like our one token that goes in and out of the ecosystem. So that token can immediately swap for ETH, either using the Bancor protocol I think we're adding in some other liquidity networks to as well, like Kyber, I believe, and then that comes in. You can buy the somee points, and the somee points is really what runs on our internal blockchain that the users can power up to G Fuel. So the somee points, G Fuel, and G Bucks are kind of the three different digital assets that we have on the internal blockchain. And when they power up to G Fuel, obviously it increases the voting power. So that kind of is similar to Steam Power, and the Steam backed dollar. The difference is that we have a limited supply of our ERC token, so we don't increase the supply. I think Steam creates a new, like 100% a new supply every year to drive and continue to expand the ecosystem. So we're pretty limited in that aspect, but so we kind of have those finite resources there. And then when somebody wants to power down, it's the same principle where they power down G Fuel into the Steam points. We did make a change recently and followed suit with Steam to where it goes 50% to the content creator and then 50% to the curators. So it's pretty much the same type of system. And then when it was paid out, we had quite a high payout level, and we have a great community of supporters, and the larger supporters that have been involved for a while, even though they could have been just greedy and said, hey, let's bring it on, let's keep taking more and more, they came to us and said, hey, you guys really should lower the rewards at this point. And so we listened to our community. We did that. We basically split that. So once we did the 50-50 split, the payouts also go into somee points, G Fuel, and then we started rewarding in the G Buck. The G Buck is going to have a special interaction within the ecosystem that's attached to the AdShare marketplace when we release it. So we haven't released any information on that yet, on how that's going to interact, but I think the users are going to be pretty happy when they see what we release with that and how that's going to work within the ecosystem. It's kind of partially live right now where they can boost a post and get more visibility if they want. It's like one G Buck is $1 worth, and it's one boost if they want to promote a post. But other than that, it's going to be used specifically for them to kind of interact and have some interaction with the AdShare marketplace. And the advertisers will be, once we have our advertisers onboarding, a lot of them, we do have a user verification system. I know that's different, and it's something you and I have talked about probably at length at one point, because a lot of people were talking about it. We originally did implement it because we really wanted to stop the fraudsters. We had a tremendous amount of fraud, people opening up, account after account of fake accounts, and they were just trying to cash out as fast as they could. And so we put up that verification system. That was another pivot that we made. And then we put a $100 price tag on it. So we put a higher than average price tag, and that pretty much stopped all of that fraud business. And so the fraudsters kind of tried to switch their strategy, I think, after that. And we've reacted anytime we've had DDoS attacks or anything on the network that isn't doesn't look right. So so that's in place now. I know we're going to release something later on where people don't have to pay $100 on a card or whatever. They can use their somee points. We haven't been able to integrate that in yet, but that's another difference. But it is a compliance piece too, because there's a lot of different compliance things coming around with this, the digital rewards ecosystem from FINRA or FinCEN and some other organizations that are making recommendations. It's not law yet, I don't believe, but it's getting close. And so I feel like we have kind of a head start on that, so that we don't get in any trouble later on. Again, but looking down the road, in the future, if a regulator comes to us and sees this particular transaction that they're asking about on the blockchain, Again, we don't want to be the ones to ever share information, so we want to put the users in control and then just connect the regulator to an individual and not have access to that information. So our goal is to eventually just like I said, be that decentralized organization that really empowers the individual and then everybody within the ecosystem, so we stay compliant and basically utilize our technology like that. But with that said, that's kind of where we're at with the ecosystem and the rewards. Those are kind of the similarities to Steam, and some differences where we have an Ethereum connection. We did also build an exchange. We haven't released that, but we built that on the OX protocol, which is another liquidity network. So once we have everything kind of tightened up and ready with somee, then we'll focus some more attention on that and preparing it. And then we have some plans to kind of how that's going to interact in our ecosystem. And right now with our user verification, we have a regular verify, and then we have accredited investor verify. So we did that, purposely so that we could whitelist the accredited investors, and then we'll have some opportunities later on to loop them into our exchange.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, like verification, like I understand why it's needed. Like for example, like Waku was an alternative version of Steam, and they basically lost all their community and their value because they had too many people that were just cashing out right away. Because unlike Steam, which would like lend a bit of Steam, Waku was just giving 100 Waku to every new user. So then people were just creating a lot of accounts and then just cashing it all out without even making any posts or doing anything at all. And then that really just devalued the whole thing, and now it's kind of more or less abandoned. So yeah, I do understand it from that side of things. And I do recall at some point I think you said something not in this interview, but previously, that when you guys have ads on the platform, there'll be some sort of ad share with people who are staking their somee. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so we're going to allow them to stake the. Right now, the plan is to allow them to stake the ONG ERC token, the somee ONG, and when they stake it, they can unlock up to 80% of the ad share revenue. So depending on what their stake is, the smart contract unlocks their ad share, and then whenever they participate in any campaigns, if an advertiser comes in and makes a large ad spend, and they're one of many influencers that are participating in the campaign, it's all split at the various ad share payouts automatically into their account as they promote the campaign or participate in the campaign with the advertiser. So that's how the ad share program works, and we plan to release that hopefully in February.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I always think it's really great when there's a lot of different ways to monetize, and it's kind of just like up to the individual to, whichever venue they want to go via curation or content creation, or working with the ad share program that you guys have. I think that's really awesome. So are we going to see you guys at any events in the next year, or are you mainly just focus on just like development and such? Like, will we see you at any, and if you'd like to just share any of the events, or if you guys are not going to be at any?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we plan to be, we actually have to look at all the different events that we're going to attend and just map it out. It's been so crazy. Last year, I started going to events. I've just been, so heads down that previously we had our community manager, James, that was attending different events. And then last year I started kind of getting out there. So I went to the WCC in Vegas, for example.
Oh, okay.
That was a great event. Actually played in their poker tournament at Mike Tyson's mansion, and met a lot of great people. Brock Pierce was at my table. Was sitting next to Charlie Shrem's wife at one point when we were on the featured table, and then some of the pros were there and got to take some pictures with them. So that was exciting and made a lot of connections. And then, of course, the event went really well, and got to really connect with a lot of people within the industry. Um, Went to some other ones as well. TF Blockchain was another one in Seattle that I just attended a couple months ago. We chose not to go to Miami. I think there's something happening in Miami right now. We did do that one last year. So this year we want to, we want to attend some of the ones that, Consensus and Cointelegraph and some of the different events that are going to be out there. We just need to kind of, map it all out. We wanted to get to the launch and really, get the right promotion going on. And then the plan is to then scale up some more resources on our employee base. And with that, we're going to have people that are, just hired to go to the events and represent SoMe and have our branding. And, we want to start sponsoring some of the events as well to get our brand out there. So we've been really holding back until now just to make sure that we had the runway that we needed. The crypto winter, I think, was hard on a lot of young companies. And we've never really done VC funding, honestly. We just, when I started the company, I funded everything and really stayed really lean and mean the whole time. And just got a small group of investors out there originally. So now we're going into a Series A financing round. So I think once we close that, we will also later be going into a security token offering. So we've been talking to Perkins Coie, which is a great law firm that, and the specific team that's done Coinbase, Kraken, and many others has offered to represent us for that. So our goal is to basically go into our Series A, right around this month, within the next 30 days, do a capital raise for equity in our Delaware corporation. We don't want to give up too much, so we want to limit that and just use that capital to make sure that we accelerate our launch, and then later go into a security token offering, and those will drive our master nodes and our other nodes that we'll be able to get out there and start to push more decentralization. So that's kind of the path we're on, and I think with that we'll be capitalized, and we'll have our revenue streams obviously ready to go. That will allow us to also participate in more events and be sponsored, do sponsorships and things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for people who aren't totally sure where to go, where can they go to actually join SoMe, and what are some of the social handles that they can follow to keep up with everything that's going on?
Yeah, so it's SoMe with a double E and .social. So it's a .social domain, and they can go check it out. Right now, I know the developers we put together a new front page with a little bit more information. We've had a couple separate sites. So ongcoin.com has been kind of our informational site for a number of years. And so we're kind of merging those two. And now SoMe will just have a nice streamlined front page. So people can go there to check out the app. And and basically in the App Store, iOS, Android, somee.social will come up and pull up the apps. And they can go there to check it out, and should have a new face pretty soon. The apps have actually been updated quite nicely, and so that's where people can find us. The social handles is @SoMeOfficial. So on all the different social media, so just type in @SoMeOfficial on Facebook or Twitter. We also have One Name Global on those, which is our parent corporation. So kind of have a couple of different social channels for the parent corporation and for SoMe as well. So yeah, and find us. And we're also, on other decentralized apps that are out there that we enjoy. We want to collaborate. We don't consider all these other apps that are coming up and coming with us as competitors. We really want to partner with them. And so we're on Float, and we're on some of the other ones out there, Minds. So at somee official. Obviously, we're on Steam, and you can find us at somee official on all of the other apps as well, and social media sites that are centralized.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, so everyone make sure to go and follow them on those platforms as well as to actually get yourself signed up on Somee. Those are all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we end this off?
No, just wish everybody Happy New Year, great 2020, and appreciate everyone's support with Somee, is obviously, and appreciate you taking the time for the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for scheduling, for taking some time out of your schedule to do this. And I guess everyone will be on the lookout to see how it explodes in February when that really gets all that reach. So that'll be really interesting to see how you guys how you guys grow in that month and just for the rest of the year. So everyone be on the lookout for all the updates coming from Somee, and make sure to get on there if you're not already on there. I've been on there for a little over a month now, maybe 2 months. And yeah, it's pretty lucrative. You can earn a lot of rewards, and if you're from Steam, it's going to be very familiar, and also a little unique in its own way. So I highly recommend checking it out. And again, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Yeah, thanks so much, Scott. Appreciate the time.